Hello and welcome to the reading of Appendix 2, the programming sites, some major mind control programming sites with explanations of their programming by Fitz Springmeier, part of the book. It's a pretty good book. What I do is I get tabs. When I find somebody that it's like some story that they've told me and I can link it, I put a tab on. And people will come over and put their own tabs on, too. When they come over and read the book, it's like the book that everybody comes over and reads, and they'll, like, get their own. Okay, I'm going to use pink tabs, and they'll put in their tabs, and they come over, they go in and reference and stuff. It's funny. So, I'm just going to quickly go through this, because this portion is missing from that book that I bought. This is from educateyourself.org, and it's missing. And I think it's interesting that it's missing, because it is so important, and directly links to my experience. Okay, here we go. Fritz Springmeier originally exposed many of these sites in 1993, so it is possible that they have made some changes since they were originally exposed. Most of these operated for years, and many still are operating. We are aware of that some of them programming sites have been moved after exposure. Besides these major programming sites, there are countless minor ones. For instance, some of the programming sites for water beach tortures have been visited by co-authors, but are not listed. The Massing Boeing plant in the Seattle, Washington area with its large amount underground tunnels has been used for programming, as well as the Arco Beaver Valley plant of Pennsylvania. So has a chapel at the Coast Guard Academy at New London, Connecticut, which was built by A.W. Mellon of the Mellon Illuminati family via their Mellon Foundation. This list is not put forth as comprehensive without question. This list is only the tip of the iceberg. Okay, beginning. 29 Palms, California, also known as Area 51, Dreamland Groom Lake Facility. Nevada, Area 51 is also known as Dreamland. There are a number of extensive underground facilities in this area. This was one of the first genetic research facilities in the U.S. and perhaps the first major genetic research facility. The program workers and victims are brought in by airplane and underground tube shuttle. The worst cases of UFO alien type of monarch programming is coming out of Area 51. The eggs of slaves are being harvested and weird genetic creatures are being developed from human eggs, which have been genetically mixed with other things. Bethesda, Maryland, and Basada Naval Hospital, Bingham, Utah, a red brick house, which was a closed house of prostitution. The building was used for KKK programming. Child porn was produced in the basement, and upstairs programmed child slaves service KKK members. The KKK activity in the area connects in with the Illuminati-controlled Connecticut Copper Company, a.k.a. Utah Copper Company. Russell G. Fraser, head of Bingham's Clavern and doctor for Connecticut Copper Company, did the electroshock to split personalities. Okay, electric shock. Black Forest, Germany, because the U.S., UK, and Germany do so much programming, and some of the people in the U.S. were programmed in the UK, Germany, or Russia, it is worthwhile to mention some of the German programming sites. A number of witnesses report about castles in the Black Forest, which are used for programming and ritual. Basel, southwest on the border of Germany, is an important Illuminati center. Frankfurt, Berlin, and Zurich are all important programming ritual sites. The Jesuits and the Catholic churches are very active in programming in Germany. Boulder, Colorado, the headquarters for EMC, a type of electromagnetic mind control that is being broadcast to modify the thinking of Americans and to control slaves. I'm going to say that one more time. Boulder, Colorado, the headquarters for EMC, electromagnetic mind control that is being broadcast to modify the thinking of Americans and controlled slaves. And when they say controlled slave, that means chip. Okay. Butner, North Carolina, Center of Correctional Research. All types of mind control are carried out and experimented with on the inmates. So that's Butner, North Carolina, Center of Correctional Research. Center of Correctional Research, you guys. It's fucking crazy. Camp Peary, Virginia. The CIA's The Farm is located on a narrow strip of land between the York and James Rivers near Williamsburg, Virginia. Used for programming CIA slaves. It has red brick buildings and looks similar to a small college. The official critonym was Isolation. People who are brought in who don't know where they are for training are called black trainees. China Lake Naval Research Base in Yokern, California. This facility had a country store and hangars and a hospital. Address for the hospital is the code 232 Naval Air Weapons Station, which all provided sites for programming. This site has been operational since the early 1950s. Large number of children, batches of 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 children were run through this facility at a time. This facility did much of the original traumas and splitting tortures that created the MPD. Other facilities then specialized in further programming that was then layered on top of the original China Lake programming. A great deal of dehumanization in cages was done to large numbers of tiny children in the China Lake Naval Facility. Nimitz Hospital did drug testing on children prior to the programming, so they set these children's lives up basically for this. You have to understand. Colorado Springs, Colorado, the ALEX system programming and End Times military programming is coming out of Colorado Springs and is connected to NORAD. One of the Colorado sites is doing alien programming with mock UFOs. Dillsboro Nike base, Monarch programming of many kinds. The Nike base is in Sylmar, California, and this is one of the few places that it doesn't actually have the name. Nike base is in Sylmar. That's where my husband is from, okay? He's been to this base. Okay. Disneyland, California. Disneyland, California. Disneyland has been an off-hour site for Illuminati and satanic rituals for years. Programming has gone on using Disneyland as one big prop for programming. Many of the Disney movies are used for programming, and some Disney scripts are especially tailored for monarch slave programming. The Peter Pan programming can use the ship. The space programming can use the space props. The satanic programming can use the castles. Lots of mirror programming is done at Disneyland and Disney World. There is also Magic Mountain programming, and programming used the Around the World dolls and its theme song. Some of the Wizard of Oz and the Cinderella programming was also done at Disneyland using costumes. Proverbial children are taken to Disneyland to get them ready for scripts, basically getting acclimated with the terminology. Disneyland, Florida. Disney World was created as the eastern counterpart to the Disneyland programming site. On of the rides Disney World plays It's a Small World, which is Disneyland developed programming theme. Fort Campbell in Kentucky, base programs are placed in here. Fort Detrick, Maryland, involved with medical biological experimentation. Fort Oliverd, Maryland. This site is no longer in existence, but was the Army Intelligence School. CIC used the school and was placed known as the Bird. Fort Hood, Texas. Programming involved military uses the Delta Monarch slaves was done there. Fort Hood, Texas. Delta. Fort Huachaca, Arizona. Headquarters for Army Intelligence. Fort Knox, Connecticut. The first Earth Bat was developed there. And it's Earth Battery. Fort Lewis, Washington, involved in the psychic warfare part of the monarch programming, psychic warfare, astral projection, and things like that. Fort McClellan, Fort Meade, Maryland. The National Security Agency was created on November 4th, 1952. Its headquarters were Fort Meade, Virginia. The National Security Agency, NSA, employs tens of thousands of employees and has a budget larger than the CIA. It has also been kept far more secret, while the CIA has been used as the fall guy to protect the National Security Agency's reputation. In the late 1960s, under Operation Minaret and Program Shamrock, the NSA and its British counterpart, GC headquarters, began monitoring such of the communication within the USA and UK. The NSA monitors all American calls via computers using trip words, specific names, specific addresses, specific telephone numbers, etc. NSA has several computer to record all the millions of conversations, while the computers have examined the deemed worthy of recording. So it basically goes through a filter system. Now the NSA can get any use out of millions of recorded telephone conversations. Why they can is beyond me. What intelligence agency could adequately process so much information? These organizations now monitor all communications within both countries. At least one congressman got upset that his phone was bugged by the NSA. David Corn's article, The Case of the Bugged Senator, in Nation, February 6, 89, page 152. NSA has developed a fiber optics network called Internet Computer Network. An orange book is used to specify some of the NSA security levels. And information in the National Security Agency states the establishment newspapers like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times are used to communicate secret messages which are placed within the want ads, buzzwords, in editorials, and via other methods. Because of some of what this person told me, I have given some possible examples in this newsletter of how people might be using the papers for secret messages. For instance, using Michael Jackson with his hands making some type of sign, maybe a signal. Manfred Adler and the U.S. Senator Committee investigating the CIA found that 90% of the CIA's secret messages are transmitted via the media with the aid of coded text and pictures. A raised forefinger or two raised forefingers while a speaker is talking means the message is a Masonic message coming from a Masonic speaker. The Illuminati uses code words within the large established newspaper to warn the people that they are going to do what they are going to do with the economy. In this way, people of the Illuminati can take the appropriate responses. Goddard Space Flight Center, NASA Mirror Theme Programming. Grissom Air Force Base, Indiana, Hollywood, California. One of the programmers, handlers in Hollywood area is surprisingly Anton LaVey. This is one reason Anton LaVey has followers who will carry out his very wishes. LaVey's children, of course, were programmed too. His own girls have been participating in the nude satanic rituals since little children, and they just live 20 minutes from me. Homestead Air Force Base, Florida. Kirkland Air Force Base, New Mexico, sorry. Lampe, Minnesota, Missouri. This has been the site of a CIA near-death trauma center where slaves are programmed. It is an R&R center for the CIA where they can have any sexual perversion or drug they want. This has been a huge cocaine supply depot. Hal Meadows was director of this center, which is deep in the woods, surrounded by cabin chalets overlooking a small, deep lake. A gravel road leads to the site, which is fenced and well guarded. Hal Meadows' address was Box 27, Lampe, I think it's Missouri. I always get them mixed up. Missouri 65681. Well, that would tell you what it was. Langley, Virginia, slaves for the wants of intelligence, like slaves, whatever they want, hunting people, they do all kinds of crazy stuff. Las Vegas, sites in and around Las Vegas, and MGM's Grand Hotel and the theme park were built for programming, but there are also some sites outside the cities used in the general area of the Las Vegas and remote sites, and the elite gather for slave auctions once a year where monarch slaves are sold and traded. One of the favorite slave auction sites was 20 miles out of Las Vegas and 10 miles off the main road in the site. The mob is involved, and with monarch slaves in Las Vegas, a blue-eyed 11-year-old girl would go for about $50,000. Toronto, Canada is another regular site for monarch slave auctions. McClellan Air Force Base, California, very bad child and adult porn using monarch victims is distributed through this base as well as the other bases listed in this list. A.T.W. Sanders worked on monarchs at this base. MacDill Air Force Base, Florida, near Tampa, Florida. Maxwell Air Force Base, they left some of that stuff out. Montreal, Q, Canada, McGill University, McGill Psychiatric Training Network, Allen Memorial Institution, St. Mary's Hospital, the zombie room, sleep room in the basement, the isolation chamber, and the grid room at St. Mary's Hospital were used for programming. Mount Shasta, California. Underground facilities around this huge mountain in the Lake Shasta area are putting out monarch programming that makes the people think they are in communication with aliens. This facility is for torturing and reprogramming captured runaway monarch slaves. People are brought into this area via helicopter, plane, or flying saucer. This site is probably the largest mind control programming center. It is in a remote wooded area. It is heavily guarded, has fences, a large contingent of black helicopters. Mount Shasta is equipped with state-of-the-art high-tech programming equipment. Mind-controlled slaves who are soldiers are programmed and trained at the Mount Shasta facility. Nashville, Tennessee. These sites work with the country western music industry, which is actually a CIA front for moving drugs to finance their dirty black activities. Fiddler's Inn, Nashville, fits in with the monarch programming. Fiddler's Inn, Fiddler's 3, and some are. Patrick Air Force Base, Portland, Old OMSI. I don't know what OMSI stands for. Near Monarch Hotel at 8800 SE Sunnyside Road, Mormon Temple, etc. Or the old, it's the Mormon Place building, had a back door on the west side in which slaves were taken into the bottom floor and reprogrammed. Although security guards aren't visible, they are there with electronic surveillance. The people running the OMSI are tied to the Illuminati. The DC-3 airplane outside the building was used in the programming as a hypnotic trigger. The submarine docked outside of the OMSI building is also used as programming hypnotic tool. The new Mormon Temple has an extremely high-tech underground tunnel facility for programming built underneath. Witnesses have collaborated their testimony on this high-tech programming sit under the Portland Mormon Temple. Although building plans are to be public information, the city of Lake Oswego makes it very difficult to view the temple's building plans. The plans show that the foundation walls are far thicker than any conceivable earthquake would ever call for. The reason is the foundation helps house the underground arena for the Illuminati and their guests to watch perverse shows. Presidio, California, Alcatraz, San Francisco. The Illuminati and various satanic cults used the Presidio for their programming. Split Brain and other programming was done at Letterman Hospital. Fort Point was used for the Illuminati ritual and programming, as well as other number of churches, underground gun emplacements, and the large circular Greek column art building at Presidio, Alcatraz, abandoned as a prison, was used for water torches and other programming. Tunnels connected to buildings and the Mule Horse buildings and the cemetery were also used. This is one of the older programming sites. Psychic warfare activity also was experimented on in this area. Letterman Hospital has been used in the initial drug testing on the infants before programming. Lots of isolation programming in damp, cold places was done at the Presidio. Lots of porn and military programming have also been done there. Salt Lake City, the Mormon Temple. The underground facility works in conjunction with the Mormons hierarchy who are allowed to create slaves. The Illuminati put in base programming that still gives the ultimate control beyond the control of the Mormon programming has. Scotty's Castle, Death Valley, California. Mengele, Dr. Green, programmed in some of his external boxes, as well as other Illuminati programming, was done at this site. Mengele had a large circular red bed in a castle, which he stocked with his little girl slaves, who already had sex kitten altars. Scotty's Castle is a castle located in Death Valley, California. It has a very interesting story. To reach the castle, one is required to drive through many miles of desert. If one drives to Inyo Country, California, the same country has the China Lake Naval Testing Grounds, the Inyo Kern, and then you drive on Highway 190 into Death Valley National Monument. It is not a park or forest. Dead valleys are called monuments. Next, you go on a road after Stovepipe for 35 miles. A man who built Scotty's Castle was Walker Perry Scott, 1872 to 1954. Walter P. Scott was the son of an alcohol distiller and horse breeder in Kentucky. Walter did not get any formal education. He left home and went west, where he worked as a mule driver and a water boy. From where he became a horse wrangler because of his talent with horses. Buffalo Bill made him the feature writer along with Annie Oakley in Buffalo Bill's family show. The show traveled, and Scotty was with it 11 years. During this time, Scotty made many important friendships with men of power and wealth in the 1900s. Walter married and left the show. He got a loan from the Julian Gerard, a New York banker, to go prospecting for gold, which he failed to pay back. Julian Gerard was repeatedly sending people to hassle Scotty to get his money back. In 1905, Walter Scotty scattered gold nuggets and 100 bills from New York to L.A., where he got all his gold and 100 bills is a mystery, but it wasn't from prospecting. The idea of finding a secret mine was obviously a cover for however Scotty managed to get his money. So basically, he got money. It was a guy who did something else. Scotty is well known for his penchant to throw away $20 gold pieces as if they were candy wherever he went. Nobody believed he had a mine. Strangely, the IRS never got interested in Scotty. Why? The IRS went after Charles Coughlin, who was exposing the elite, the bankers, the Freemasons, etc. In the early 1930s, on his radio show, there was no reason to suspect to suspect Coughlin of any cheating on his income tax, and the audits found the IRS actually owed Coughlin money. However, the national papers printed front-page stories of the IRS investigation, and they practically ignored that the man was exonerated, yet the IRS left Scotty alone. Although Scotty was married, he became intimate friends with Albert Mussey Johnson, a Chicago millionaire, who was VP from 1906 to 1926 of the National Life Insurance Company. Albert M. Johnson was born in Ohio and lived in Arkansas and Missouri before moving to Chicago. Johnson came out and stayed in Death Valley. The stay helped his health, and he and Scotty remained close friends. In 1924, construction secretly began on the castle in Death Valley. Finally, in 1924, they start construction on the castle in Death Valley. The best of materials were used, and the materials have been hauled clear out in the desert by truck to Grapevine Canyon, where the castle sits. Hundreds of workers were hired. The castle got its kitchen tiles from Spain. Special rugs were made in the European island of Morjoko for the castle. Tiles for the incompleted pool came from the Mediterranean. Many of the furniture of the castle came from the cathedrals and palaces. Okay, so blah, 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 blah. Idea satanic ritual site. It can accommodate numerous people, and it's remote. It has hidden rooms, areas, and tunnels. Around $2 million for that time period. So it is very interesting. And it just goes on to go Royal Free Hospital, the University of London, works with Tavistock Clinic, multiple personality disorder, and it just goes on. There's only a couple more pages and I won't go into them, but you get the idea. These programming sites are pretty much everywhere. Connecticut Coast to Coast Resort, which has had a sensory deprivation tank, headphones for state-of-the-art harmonic programming, etc. These membership campsites are used to program children, nor have we touched upon any of the large numbers of programmed Russians and Eastern Europeans that are coming into this nation. When this book was written, more people immigrated into the U.S. from Russia than anywhere else. Europe is tearing with programming sites, including the Vatican. So, Park City Diamond Taverns in West Virginia at the Jesuit College. So, just going over that briefly, I think it's important to take note of all these places because, and this is a good book. If you can get this book, or go to the website, educateyourself.org, and just check it out, that they're programming. And even these people, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with everything that these people are saying, but it's good information. But I don't necessarily agree with all of it, because I do believe that we have our own programming that we've done to ourselves, and I think people messing with programming and not knowing about it is dangerous, which they say that as well. But also, people are communicating with these other entities, and you can't just blow it off and say people that are receiving messages from Mount Shasta are under programming. They're not really talking to anybody because there are other entities that are doing these things. So this could be just like another deception. But in any case, you have to pay attention to what they're trying to get you to believe. Okay? So thanks for watching.